Hey y'all, this is Rose, Coach Rose AJ, coming to holla at y'all with another episode of the Carnivore Connection. In the studio today, I have with me the beautiful Sandi Jones. And actually, she is someone that I've met virtually a couple of times, and we follow each other on, I want to say YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook, if I'm not mistaken. But we are probably just maybe 10 or 12 miles from each other, and we have as yet to cross paths or to
Yeah.
set up an in-person meeting, which I hope that we will do in the very near future. But Sandi's here today to share her story of her health journey and some insights that she's had along the way and where she hopes to go. All right, Miss Sandi, you go ahead and take it away, babe.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, Coach Rose. I appreciate you so much. I'm excited to share my journey on the carnivore diet and how carnivore found me. It was actually back in 2017. And I've been battling, food addiction, sugar addiction, morbid obesity for over 30 years, dating back to when I had my first child almost 39 years ago. When I got pregnant with her, I was 150 pounds. When I had her, I was 250 pounds. And I've been in the 200s ever since. And so this has been a yo-yo battle for me for almost 4 decades. And I thought about that today as I was preparing for tonight's show. And I didn't realize what a toll it was taking on my mental health until now. And I really had to think about that and I really had to come to terms with that because any kind of addiction will take a toll on your mental health. It doesn't have to be drugs, it doesn't have to be alcohol. Food has the same effect. And I can see now, with the benefit of hindsight, that just going back and forth, doing all these different diets and trying all these different foods. And I've done everything from Weight Watchers to the lemonade diet to the cabbage soup diet to Jenny Craig to you name it. I have tried it and with success for a few months. I always end up losing quite a bit of weight and then something happens in my life that is stressful or traumatic or just knocks me out of my normal routine. And I just not only fall off the wagon runs me over, and I end up gaining back all of the weight. And so that's where I was in 2017 when Carnivore found me. I was searching for a way not just to lose weight, but to rid myself of the constant pain that I was in my body. I was suffering from, dangerously high blood pressure, which caused migraines. I had an inflamed sciatica nerve running up my right leg, so I was in constant pain, lower back pain. It was just, it was a daily struggle to wake up in the morning because I knew my feet were going to ache, my legs were going to ache. I knew that and I expected that. I had gotten to the point where I expected to be in pain from the moment I woke up to the moment I laid down to go back to sleep. But there was something that happened in my life in 2013 that devastated me in such a way that I had to get real with myself. I had to tell myself the truth. I had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself. And it was the unexpected loss of my sister, Alicia. She was 46 years old, healthy, strong, beautiful, exercised all the time, ate correctly. She ate healthy her whole life. She was not overweight. She did not have a health problem. She did not have a weight problem. And she suffered a blood clot related stroke in September of 2013. And September 10th, as a matter of fact, and about 6 days later, she passed away. And she was the closest person to me. We were 11 months apart in age. We raised our children together. We never lived far from each other. We talked to each other multiple times a day. She was my first bestie and my older sister. And so when I lost her, I shut down emotionally And that's when food really became my everything. I developed an emotional attachment to food. And it didn't matter if I was happy, sad, or indifferent, I was eating. And the more carbs, the better. So, from 2013 to 2017, I was just walking around in a fog. I really wasn't paying attention to what I was doing to my body. I didn't care. I needed to soothe myself. I missed my sister dreadfully. Her passing was unexpected. We did not see it coming. She was the healthy one. She was the one warning me to get out and exercise more and to start eating better because she said, I'm afraid that something's going to happen to you. She said that to me, and something terrible ended up happening to her. And so by the time 2017 rolled around, I knew that I was in danger. If for no other reason, because my blood pressure was ridiculously high. And
So,
I was, mhm,
so I want to say first and foremost that I'm sorry to hear about your sister having lost her life at such a young age and you a best friend. What That's 4 years between 2013 and 2017.
yes.
And you were commenting that you were concerned about your high blood pressure, if nothing else, for your high blood pressure. Were
Mhm.
there any other alarms going off in that 4-year period where you knew you needed to rein it in or to try to do something different,
Oh
but you
yeah.
just couldn't do it?
Oh yeah. There were alarms going off every day. I knew that I had an addiction to food, and that's what it was. And Coach Rolls, I I hear, I'm a Christian, and I've heard Christian people say, "Oh, Christians don't have addictions." And I'm here to say, yeah, we do. We do. And it's not always drugs and alcohol. It's not always the stereotypical addiction. We do anything that overtakes you in a way that you cannot control how you respond to it can be looked at as an addiction. And so I just want to say to other Christian women and people, period, you know, you can't heal it until you feel it. And you can't feel it until you confess it. And so by the time I got to 2017, I was done lying to myself. I had to tell the truth about what was happening to me. And that's when I finally said, I have a problem. So, of course, I'm going to the doctor, annually in between that time, between 2013 and 2017. And my doctor is telling me the same thing at every appointment. You're too heavy. You've got to get some of this weight off your joints. And his recommendation was, healthy eating and daily exercise. He didn't specify, what to eat. He just said, you need to eat healthier and you need to exercise every single day. And that was his advice to me. I didn't talk to him about my sugar and carb addiction because I didn't think he would get it. As a matter of fact, I know he wouldn't get it. I knew he would not get it. So I decided within myself that I was going to be the one to find the remedy for my issue. And I remember I was on YouTube and I, if I'm not mistaken, I was doing some research on Atkins because I tried Atkins before. It didn't work because I started getting cramps in my legs and I didn't know that was a sign that I needed electrolytes. I didn't know what that meant because it was like 25 years ago. So as soon as those cramps hit, I was like, nope, this ain't the one. So I gave up on Atkins, but in 2017, I was desperate for anything. So I just started doing some research on Atkins, and a video by Dr. Ken Berry popped up in my YouTube feed, and he was talking about the BBBE challenge, which is bacon, beef, butter, and eggs 21-day challenge. This was in 2017. And so I listened to the video. I was so glad it was short because I get distracted really easily. But it was like a 30-minute video. And so I watched the video. I watched it twice, as a matter of fact. And I thought to myself, now that meat cannot be healthy, but this is the doctor. So would he really be recommending this way of eating if it wasn't healthy? So I did a little bit more research. And I decided, you know what? I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it for 21 days. And this is something that I used to tell my kids when they were younger. And as a matter of fact, I still tell them now. The days are going to go by anyway. So you may as well use them for to your advantage. And that's what I decided to do. I said, I'm going to take the next 21 days and I'm going to challenge myself to eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs for 21 days. And I knew about the electrolytes already, but Dr. Berry really re-emphasized you got to make sure that you get your electrolytes in. And so I bought some electrolyte powder and I was drinking 2 liters of water a day, following the protocol. And I remember the first 10 days, I lost 21 pounds in 10 days. And that weight just was falling off of me because I was also walking a mile every day at a school near my house. I was walking the track every day, 1 mile every day. And so the weight was falling off so fast, I got a little nervous. I was like, okay, wait a minute. What is happening? But then I got excited too, because that was the first time in a very long time that I had lost weight, not just quickly, but easily. I was eating food that I liked and I was losing weight. And best of all, I was not craving sugar. So I knew there was something to that. I was like, okay, there's something here. I need to just keep going. And I did. I kept going for about 5 months. Lost about 43 pounds. And then life hit me in a way that, life hit me. And from 2017 to 2021, I was dealing with difficulties in my marriage. My body was breaking down. I had to have surgery for female issues. And I was going through a lot of drama at work and within my family. And so in 2021, after 28 years of marriage, my husband and I called it quits. And I was just a mess. My life fell apart, and so did my carnivore dreams. I couldn't handle it. And I went back to the one thing that had never disappointed me, which was my emotional attachment to food, especially sugar. And I found myself wanting to eat in secret. I didn't want people to see me eating because I was eating cakes and pies and cookies and every kind of pastry. I had never met a dessert I didn't like. And fast food was my go-to. I was on autopilot. I wasn't cooking, I wasn't preparing my meals anymore. I was just fast food, fast food, fast food. The more cake and ice cream, the better. The more cookies, the better. The more milkshakes, the better. The more Starbucks, the better. The more sugar in the Starbucks, the better. I just fell all the way off. And that was 2021. And it took me until September, actually August of this year, to be able to start to see the light after my divorce. I needed to heal from that. And I went through therapy and gave myself the time that I needed to heal. And once I was able to see a crack of light, that's when Carnivore came back and found me again. And that was in August of this year.
How
Again,
did
Dr.
it find wait a minute, wait, girl. How did it
Mhm.
find you again?
You know what? God
How?
works in mysterious ways. I went on YouTube and there was Dr. Berry. He was right there. And it was a 2024 video. And I was like, oh, that's the updated video. And he was doing the challenge again. And I said, okay, this was August of this year. I started the challenge on September 16th of this year. And within the first 7 days, I'd lost 11 pounds. But again, within the third day, every ache and pain I had in my body was gone. From backache to migraine to sciatica to swollen legs and feet, um, to lower lumbar pain, you name it. That pain left me within the first 3 days of switching over to the bacon, beef, butter, and eggs. way of eating. And so I started to dig a little bit deeper and I found Dr. Anthony Chafee. I found Dr. Lisa. I found the ketogenic woman that I absolutely adore. I love her so much because she's just so real and down to earth. I love watching her videos. And I figured out, what is my favorite meat? And I can't remember which carnivore coach said this, but they said, just eat your favorite meat. You don't have to do all that extra stuff. Whatever your favorite meat is, eat that, season it with sea salt and a little bit of pepper, and go on about your business. So that's what I did. I discovered ribeye steaks. I was never a steak eater before now. It just wasn't my thing. Steak now, yeah, I love me some steak, especially ribeye. And that's what I did. I did that from September 16th of this year, lost 11 pounds in the first 7 days. And since then, I have lost a total of 33 pounds in about 100 and something days. So I know that carnivore is the real deal. You can't tell me any different. I know it is. Not to mention, last year I had my blood work done like I do every year, and my triglycerides were 368. My triglycerides were 368. I don't even remember what my HDL was because my triglycerides were so high, I was in shock.
What did
I
your
don't remember
doctor
what my,
what did your doctor say about your trigs being that
he wanted
high?
me, he wanted me to go on a statin. And that was January of last year. So I said, no, I'm not taking cholesterol medicine because I had already researched the side effects. And I was like, no, I'm going to have to do something about what I'm eating. So I cut back on fast food. Was still eating the cakes and the pies and the cookies and the ice cream, but I cut back on how much fast food I was eating in a week. And so in January of this year, my triglycerides had dropped to 58. HDL in January of this year was 52. LDL was about 108, and that was January of this year. I now know that those are great numbers because I understand how to read cholesterol numbers now. If you watch any of Dr. Berry's videos, Ken Berry, he explains it beautifully. Dr. Chapey as well, how to read your cholesterol numbers so you know what you're looking at. And so I knew that having low HDL and having low triglycerides made it so that my LDL being a little elevated was okay. I wasn't worried about it. So I had my blood work done again in October, just a couple months ago. Triglycerides are 78, HDL is 70, and my LDL is 132. So my numbers are still good. They're still
So
good.
with you checking your scores, did you ever have a fasting insulin along with the regular other blood work, your fasting insulin done?
I may have, because I know I had to fast when I did my blood work. I'll have to go back and look and see if they looked at my
Most
insulin.
most of the time you will not have a fasting
Mm.
insulin unless you request it. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I always recommend for people to get a fasting insulin, and you can do that on your own through walk-in labs. You can order it online. So you don't
Yeah,
necessarily have to go back to your doctor unless you want to and ask for that. But I always tell people that you need, along with the HbA1c and the fasting glucose, please, please, please get your fasting insulin because it tells the whole story
yeah.
years ahead of
A1C,
time.
my A1C is 5.4,
Nice.
and I have a doctor's appointment on Friday, so I'm going to request that test.
Fasting insulin. Yes.
Fasting.
Nice. Yes. So,
So, I feel like for the first time in a really long time, I am taking self-care seriously. It's an intentional thing for me. It's something that I do because I feel like I'm on a mission. In August of this year, I everything in me was telling me, if you don't do something, your body is going to start breaking down in ways that you have never imagined. Everything in my spirit, I could feel that sense of urgency to do something. And I'm so glad that I went ahead and went back to the carnivore way of eating because I haven't felt this good in probably mm, a long time, at least 10, 15 years. It's just, I just feel, I just feel different in my body. I like being in my body. I don't wake up in pain anymore. I have more energy than I've had in a very long time. So, it's not a question of if I'm going to stick with carnivore. It's more a matter of, why would I not? I'll be 57 in April of next year. And my goal is to get under 200 pounds by my birthday in April. And I believe beyond a shadow of a doubt that I can do that. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you too. I joined Hotworks today. I did. I
You
joined
did.
today.
Wait a minute, girl. Tell them that I sent you, though.
Okay.
No, I
Okay.
said, did you tell them that I
No,
sent you?
but I go back on Wednesday.
Congratulations, first and foremost,
Thank
on
you.
all of your successful weight loss and the changes that you've made in your health thus far. And I have no doubt as well that you will get to your goal by your 57th birthday.
Yes.
57 is such a magical number anyway, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
I want to know, what type of meals do you normally like to make for yourself and how
Mhm.
often you eat per day? And do you, what does your family think of the way that you're eating, let alone your friends?
So my children are very, very excited for me. They're so happy that I finally found something that not just works, but has allowed me to reclaim my health. They're rooting for me, all the way because they've seen me struggle all these years. They know what I've been through and how, I just would try one diet after another, after another, after another, lose weight, gain weight, lose weight, gain weight. They've seen the cycle that I've been in for, my daughter's almost 39. So they're very excited for me. And they know I'm going to keep going because they can tell that I finally settled into something that actually works for me. My friends, I, you know, I tell people about carnivore, but I don't push it because I know how I was when I first heard about it. I thought it was absolutely crazy. And so I get it when people look at me like that. It doesn't offend me or it doesn't make me upset. I just, people ask me what I'm doing. And I tell them I'm doing a low carb, high protein diet. It's mostly meat based and it's working for me. I feel better than I have in a very, very long time. Some people want more information. I always send them Dr. Ken Berry's videos, Dr. Anthony Chafee's videos, and Dave Mack's videos. Always. And that's how I saw you on his show. Because his videos that he posts of all his testimonials from so many different people are what keep me going. Really, I watch his show every day on YouTube. So those are the three videos that I send people. The Carnivore 101 from Dr. Berry. I think Dr. Chafee has a video about how to read your cholesterol numbers correctly. And then Dave Mack has, testimonies that are out of this world. So, and then I let people decide what they want to do because that's what I did. I had to decide for myself.
You realizing that you had a food addiction or food addiction, sugar and whatnot.
Mhm.
And you've been on this way of life since, because we're recording virtually on December 30th of
That's right.
2024. So you've
Mhm.
been on this way of life over 4 months now, right? Consecutively.
Just
Do
about.
you
Mhm.
think do you think that you will go off of this way of life and, take a break here and there? Or will you eat this way indefinitely? What are your thoughts?
You know, I'm not even worried about that. I'm going to leave my options only. I just believe that I am going to eat what tastes good and feels right for me. And if that includes a salad or some red grapes that I absolutely love, then I'll just eat it. It ain't going to kill me. I'm not going to beat myself up about what I eat anymore because I have a plan now. And I know that the plan works for me. So if I slip in a grape or a apple or a salad, which won't happen until I reach my goal weight. From now to April or from now until I get to Wonderland, we know what Wonderland is. I'll be following carnivore. But down the road, a year from now, 2 years from now, if I want to eat a salad, I'll eat a salad. I just know that I know what heals my body. There's no question which way of eating heals my body. I know it. I've proven it to myself. I've seen all the testimonials. I know this way of eating is the most healthy and natural for me and millions of people. And so I don't really worry about, I don't believe in cheat days. If I want to eat it, I'm going to eat it. More than likely I won't. But if I want to, I will. So, and another thing, and I just want to say this, another thing too, so I don't obsess about my weight. I only weigh myself once a month. I don't do weekly weigh-ins because I will obsess, and I know that. I know that about myself. I'm a grown woman. I know me really well. So I weigh in once a month on the 16th of every month because that's my anniversary of every month from when I started in September. And that's it. I don't measure. I don't count carbs. I don't count calories. I don't count macros. I don't even know what that means. I just eat meat and eggs and bacon and seafood and a little bit of cheese every now and then. And that's just the way I eat. And you asked me too, what do I eat on a daily basis? I want to answer that question. Normally I eat at noon every day because of my work schedule. That's when I go to lunch. So it just works for me. So there are times when I'll have a ribeye with some, probably 6 cheesy eggs and maybe 3 strips of bacon. And that'll be my meal for the day. I don't eat anymore until noon the next day. I find that when I eat a ribeye with some eggs and some bacon, I am not hungry for the rest of the day. And that's another thing too, Coach Rose, AJ. I now know how to let my body tell me when I'm hungry. I don't let boredom tell me when I'm hungry. I don't let, emotional instinct tell me when I'm hungry. I let my body tell me when I'm hungry. And I get a feeling in the pit of my stomach that says, oh, okay, it's time to eat something. And that's normally around noon every day. There are days when I'll eat at noon and then I'll eat again when I get off work at 5, and then I don't eat anymore until noon the next day. So at the most, I eat 2 meals a day. But if I eat that ribeye and it got that
So
good
pretty
old fat
solid.
on it like I like, I only eat once a day. Carnivore is the only way of eating that keeps me satiated. I haven't experienced that with any other diet, any other way of eating. So I just know. And that's what's helped me break my carb addiction and my sugar addiction because I don't want sweets. And I never thought I would hear myself say that. I'm in awe of myself because I
Oh,
never thought I would hear myself say, I don't want sweets.
yeah. I
I
mean,
don't crave
it's
fast
kind of like,
food.
why would you want sweets when you are so satisfied eating these other foods, right? There's no competition.
There's no competition. The desire to eat sugar is not there. And if I can say that after being a sugaraholic for so many years, anybody can use this way of eating to break their sugar addiction. Anybody.
Oh, I want to ask you, when you did the pivot and you stepped into the carnivore way of life with the 21-day challenge, did you just peel off the Band-Aid, or did you titrate down to prepare, or did you just purge everything and just go for it?
I threw away everything in my cabinet that has sugar in it.
Mm.
Every single thing. I loved Captain Crunch cereal. That was my go-to cereal. I threw away a whole brand new box of Captain Crunch on September 15th, 2024, because I knew if I didn't get it out of the house, I was going to eat it. So I threw it away. All the snacks. I had a brand new container of mini cupcakes. They went in the trash. And I said, okay, you're going to go cold turkey. It's enough is enough. And I went and bought all of the food that I needed. And I started on the 16th of September of this year.
So I want to say that that's very admirable. And for me, it's like pedal to the metal. go for it, no turning back, no looking around, just go for it, right? Or if this is back in the day, or if I sidestepped and said I'm going to have a day off, it turned into a slippery slope. Three
Yeah.
days of like, girl, let's just
Mhm.
do the party, right? You know what I'm saying? But actually, when I started this way of life, it started out on the ketogenic lifestyle. And I
Mhm.
thought I would titrate down on my carbs, but I didn't know how addicted to processed foods and sugars and whatnot that I actually was. So it took well over, maybe just over a year, maybe 13 months for me to finally get it. And then I pivoted to carnivore and then I understood. So for me and you, the titrating down or easing into it is probably not the best. You have to know yourself. Are you a moderator? Can you withstand the
Right.
rain and all that good stuff? No, just throw that stuff out and let's just go
Yeah.
for it, right?
I
No.
don't know how to do the moderation thing. I'm
Mm-mm.
learning. I'm learning by eating this the way that I'm eating now, but I don't know how to do that, especially with sugar. It's either all or nothing.
Right. So
For
you're either, in my opinion, there's no such thing as moderation when you have
Yeah,
issues with food. And the
right.
thing is you're an abstainer or you're a
Mhm.
moderator, but those
Mhm.
moderators are really few and far between, I think,
Yeah,
right? They're the people that
yeah.
can eat one M&M and never think about it again. I will know if there's an M&M or some peanuts in my house. I will not stop until they are
Right,
gone. Okay.
right.
So
Hmm.
those are the lucky people, but moderation is it's an ungodly word if you ask me.
Well, thankfully I live alone, so I get to choose what comes up in here.
There you go.
And so I don't play that game. And my grandkids, they come over and they know Mima eats differently now. And they can bring their goodies and snacks with them. It don't bother me.
Oh,
Not at
good.
all. They were over here last night, matter of fact. I put some chicken wings in the air fryer and that's what we ate. So Thanksgiving, I took my steak and my eggs to my daughter's house because we had Thanksgiving at her house, and I ate my steak and my eggs. And she I wanted to try her collard greens, so she gave me a little baby bowl of collard greens because she uses turkey in her collard greens. And so I had a few bites of that, and it was good. But she had every food you could possibly think of. I did not touch it, did not want it, did not crave it. It did not bother me at all. I sat there and ate my steak, my cheesy eggs, and my bacon, and I was good. Christmas, the same thing.
Bring the
I had
food
a
with
lamb
you.
steak.
Yes.
Yeah, I ate some lamb on Christmas and I love cheesy eggs and my bacon, and I was good.
I mean, I think that's one thing that nowadays people don't do enough of as far as
Yeah.
taking care of themselves and
Mhm.
bringing their food. A lot of people are really concerned about what will other
Mhm.
people think.
Mhm.
Um, but you at least you were with family, right? But I'm like, I don't need to eat. I honestly don't need to eat. Don't worry about me. I'm here for the conversation and to hang out with you guys and whatnot. So this is what I want to ask you also. So as we get more experienced with the carnivore way of life or low carb or whatever you land on out there in the virtual world, whatever you land on, as we
Mhm.
get more experienced, I feel that we can put a lot of our issues, whether they're health related, plantar fasciitis, the headaches, the back aches and neck aches, we can put those issues into remission just because of the inflammation no longer being there. But
Right.
also our food preferences, what we used to prefer, it doesn't taste as good anymore.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I dibbled and dabbled, gone back in, had my little highs and lows with foods and whatnot, and my body responds
Mhm. Mhm.
totally differently than it did when I initially started this way of life. Or I might get something like vertigo, and I never had vertigo, that kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
But do you think that if, 5 years from now, and this is just hypothetically speaking, 5 years from now, that you wanted something that you no longer ate and you sampled it, like if it's at a grandchild's wedding or something like that way in the future, and you
Mhm.
wanted to sample a piece of cake, do you
Mhm.
think that you would be healed enough to be able to eat that piece of cake and then walk away from it without any issues?
I think it would depend on what I ate before I got to the wedding.
Okay.
If I ate my steak, my food that I love now, I probably wouldn't care about cake. And cake was my arch nemesis. Cake was my kryptonite. White cake with buttercream frosting. You can ask anybody who knows me. My favorite cake was white cake with buttercream frosting. And I haven't touched anything like that since September 16th. So I think it would depend on how nourished I am when I get to the wedding. Because if I eat the carnivore way, I'm satiated, I'm not stuffed, I'm satisfied, and I don't want anything else to eat. And what you said about people, when you go out with friends and you go to a restaurant and people act kind of weird about you not eating, I don't care. This is my body. My body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. I have a responsibility to do whatever I need to do to take care of my body so that I can be here as long as possible with my children and my grandchildren and my mama and my family and the people that I love. So people that get it, are uncomfortable with me not eating when we're out in a restaurant setting, that ain't my problem.
Really
That's your
has more to
problem.
do with them as food pushers or having
Yeah,
their own
yeah,
issues. Now,
yeah.
what you just said about, your body being your temple, it's, you
Mhm,
need to be responsible and
mhm.
whatnot. Had you always thought that even when you were experiencing highs and lows with your weight, going through different diets and whatnot, did you always have that running somewhere in the back of your mind or the forefront of your mind? That this
Yes. Which was why there was so much guilt and shame attached to the way that I was eating, which is why I started eating in secret because I knew, from a spiritual standpoint and from an intellectual standpoint, that, my body is my responsibility. My body houses the Holy Spirit. I'm blessed to be alive. And so I always felt like I was taking advantage of the mercy and the grace bestowed upon me by God that I'm still here, but I'm eating things that are damaging me and causing me to be sick and causing me to have different ailments. Yeah. And that's why there was so much shame attached to what I was eating. And so I started hiding food so people wouldn't know what was in my pantry. I would hide it in my room so when my kids came over, they didn't know that I had all this stuff in my pantry and I would, close my curtains and eat. Um, so yeah, I've always been cognizant and aware of that aspect of my spiritual life, but I felt powerless to stop what I was doing until I changed the way that I eat.
also said something that addiction shows up in so many different ways. And I know that we talked about this when I met you the first time
Mhm.
virtually
Yeah,
about addiction showing up, not as the typical alcoholic or drug addict. It can show up as being an Amazon shopper.
yeah.
With me, it was hairstyle shopping along with food, along with
Mhm.
clothing, the whole nine,
Yeah.
hardcore and exercise, right? I mean, my addiction showed up in so many ways. Do you think that the foods that you were eating influenced your mental health as
Mhm.
well as your addiction to food itself? Because for me, I'm going to be candid, um, because of the blood sugar roller coaster that I was on, I literally thought I was losing my mind. I mean, literally losing my mind, right?
Yeah.
And had someone told me in all those years that it was literally the food,
Yeah.
and talked to me about stabilizing my blood sugar, because what's going on in your body is actually what's going on in your brain. What you feed your body
Mhm.
is what you're feeding your brain.
Yeah.
And that a lot of my tendencies would have calmed down.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have listened because of the stage of addiction that I was at. I had to
Yeah.
hit my rock bottom before I finally turned it around, kind of like you,
Mhm.
before making a decision and whatnot. But do you think that the foods you were eating, the cakes, the cereal, fast food,
Mhm.
had a big impact on your mental health as well as interfered maybe with relationships, your decision making, in
Mhm.
your day-to-day choices?
I do. I do. I didn't realize until I started therapy after my divorce in 2021 that I had been depressed for a very long time because I had suppressed my emotions. I shut down. And so I didn't know that I was depressed. I didn't know that I had um, some level of anxiety around food. When it came to food, I would get anxious. I would sweat. Um, I would just feel, I don't know if it was butterflies or just nervous in my stomach. And the last time I experienced that, I attributed that to growing up as a kid, because I'm a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was really young. And the most vivid memory that I have of my father is him moving out of our home, packing up his car so he could move out of our home. And I remember having that feeling in my stomach, that nervous feeling in my stomach. But I was not an overweight child. My weight was perfectly normal up until I had my first child. But the feeling would come back of watching my dad pack his car when he was moving out of our home. So I could connect the dots between that event and the emotions that I would feel when I thought about something that was troubling me. And so, yes, I was depressed. I was dealing with a low level of anxiety. And in 2013, I also was diagnosed with traction alopecia. And so my hair in the crown area just started falling out. And I just had a big circle with no hair in the top of my head. And part of that was from the blood pressure medicine that I was taking. But now I know it was also the sugar that I was eating. It just took my hair out. And so like you, I developed this insatiable need to cover my head. And so I was wearing weaves and wigs and braids and, whatever I needed to do to cover that up because I didn't want anybody to know that I had this huge bald spot on the top of my head. And again, therapy in 2021 helped me overcome that guilt and that shame from that particular disorder that I still have. But what I did in January of this year is I took my power back because as women, we like to have options. And so, in order for me to create options for myself, I shaved my head in January of this year. And so now, if I want to wear a wig, I will. But if I want to walk around with my beautiful bald head showing, I will do that. It was important for
Okay.
me to have options so that I was not beholden to any one kind of style when it came to my hair. I had to let that go. And shaving my head was the way that I did that. So from shaving my head in January to allowing Carnivore to find me again in August to taking the plunge and switching over to the carnivore way of eating in September, it's all just a natural progression of me starting to take my self-care more seriously. I truly believe that. I really do.
You mentioned that you went to therapy around 2021 because of your life circumstances or things that led up to it. So I want to give you a little backstory. So with me growing up in a chaotic, just dysfunctional, unreal household, um, I was always taught that what happens in this house stays in this house. And
Mhm.
you are probably old enough because we're virtually the same age to
Mhm.
remember this. And black women, we don't need any help. Da, 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 in general, I'm not saying that applies to
Mhm.
you, but I grew up with a lot of myths. That therapy is for white people. You just need to just grin and bear it. Just keep pressing on. So I
Pray
grew
about
up
it.
with all of that, right? I got
Mhm.
married at 18 and a half, still trying to reel and deal with, the first 18 years of my life. My
Mhm.
daughter is born when I'm 20. And like you, I had a normal weight history as a young person. And when I became pregnant, my weight, went up to 300 pounds and it literally stayed there, give or take 20 pounds, right?
Mhm.
But as far as like help, I did a lot of self-help, a lot of bibliotherapy, a lot of talk shows. I went to school. Education was my first line of supporting myself. Does that make sense?
It does.
And I have never seen a therapist. Now, I'm not saying this as a way of saying that therapy
Mhm.
does will not work for me because I don't know. I've never been.
Mhm.
And but I do work with other coaches and other coaches work with me. So I have people in my arena
Mhm.
that will pull my coattail, you know, pull my
Yeah.
coattail and keep it
Yeah.
real with me.
Mhm.
But as a Black woman, I've never been medicated, right? I've
Mhm.
never been medicated. And I do share with my clients and audience that I have an absolute fear of medication of any kind, because
Mhm.
it goes back to
Mhm.
Tuskegee. It goes back to just being under the influence of anything that puts me out of my mind. I'm not down for that, right?
Mhm.
So I always say maybe medication would have helped me to arrive to a place
Mhm.
quicker
Mhm.
than what
Mhm.
I had arrived, right? But
Mhm.
only God knows. So I'm curious as to what made you seek out
Mhm.
professional help?
Mhm.
And did you have any issues or stigmas, that you had to deal with before seeking help? I guess that's a long way of asking that simple question, huh?
Um, in a way, as a Christian woman and a Black woman, um, the first advice that you normally hear, not all the time, but what you normally hear is, you just need to pray. Just pray, get in your word, pray about it, give it to God. And that is all great advice. Prayer is always in order, as far as I'm concerned. Studying the scripture is always in order. But I got to the point where I knew that um, praying about it was not helping me get to the root of the problem. I needed to talk about it. And I needed to talk about it with someone who didn't know me at all, didn't know my background, didn't know anything about me, unless I told them, what I wanted them to know. I needed a neutral party to talk to about what I was feeling because I had been suppressing what I was feeling and holding it in for a very long time. And I started therapy as I was going through the process of my divorce. And, my ex husband and I met in seventh grade. He was my first boyfriend, my only boyfriend. And so we had been friends for 40 years and married for 28. And so I had to learn how to breathe air that didn't include him. And I didn't know how to do that. And all my praying wasn't helping me figure that out. So I knew that I had to get some professional help. And so I reached out and through my EAP program at my job and met a therapist from Seattle who is also a Christian man, married 30 something years. And it's the best thing I could have ever done for myself because I got to tell him my hidden thoughts, thoughts that I'd only talked about with God before. I actually got to say it out of my mouth. And then he would help me interpret what those thoughts meant. So I would encourage anyone, I've never been medicated either, but I would encourage anyone who is thinking about, possibly finding a therapist that um, it never hurts to get in a safe space so that you can think out loud. It won't hurt. And God
That
won't
is
be mad at you.
beautiful.
Yeah, he'll be so happy that you're finally taking care of your mental. So yeah, that's what it was for me. And I went to therapy twice a month on like clockwork for 3 years. Never missed a session because I had a lot of stuff going on. I had to sort through some things and I had a lot of I was angry, I was hurt, and I needed to talk that out. And therapy allowed me to do that. And now, I have some coping skills and some conflict resolution skills. I understand what it means to set boundaries for your life. I know what it means to have a personal code of conduct. I know what it means to have deal breakers with everybody, not just romantic interests, but people in general. I know that no is a complete sentence, and you don't have to explain nothing else. It's just no. I didn't know that before. So I've come a long way since 2021, and that's why, when people come to me and ask me, my opinion of therapy, I am a 100% proponent of therapy. Absolutely. Even for a Christian.
Right on. I love that. And thank you for sharing your thoughts and your experiences on that. I do have to say that having someone in your corner that's
Yeah.
there just for you, is a beautiful thing. And I think that a lot of my problems or my thoughts about it is it's a trust thing, right? I mean, I trust my girls, I trust my coaches, I trust people that I have experiences with, but to seek out someone who does this
Yeah.
professionally, I
Yeah.
feel as though I would just be exposed,
Hmm.
and I don't
Hmm.
like feeling vulnerable, to be quite honest. I
Yeah.
like to have some level of control over that. So I think that's what it is for me. The
Yeah.
feeling that I'm fighting all these myths, or untruths, brainwashing, whatever it is, but I'm also exposing myself and feeling vulnerable. And what do I do with that? Right.
Hmm.
Whereas
Yeah.
if I'm talking to you or a friend or coach, I can rein it in. Oh, they know me,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
There's a level of trust that you need with your
Mhm.
therapist, just like you do with your friends and your family.
Yeah.
So, and it took me a little bit to warm up to my therapist, but once I did, I really trusted that he would honor, you know, the confidentiality. And he didn't tell me what to do. He just gave me a safe space to think out loud. And then I began to solve my own problems because I talked about it, because I actually spoke the words that I've been carrying in my head for so many years. And that was so cathartic for me. That's exactly what I needed. And I could just feel the weight lifting off of me with every session. 3 years, twice a month. I knew I could feel it. I could feel it. So it was the best thing that I've ever done. But everybody has to make their own decision about how they want to deal with, whatever issues they're having in their life. So yeah, I totally get what you're saying too.
I also believe that we all know our way. All of our answers are really inside. It's being asked those right questions, having those timely or untimely experiences, right? Or connecting with others that are on similar journeys, or being irritated by something that it sparks a new way of thinking or a thought, or let me try this, let me try that. But I really firmly believe that our answers are all embedded within us. They
Mhm.
just need to be, brought out. We
Yeah,
have our own light. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Mhm.
All right. So I do like to ask, before we close out, if there was a person your same exact age, pretty much your same experiences, but this person is sitting on the couch and just said, life has beaten me up so bad. I am tired of trying. What
Mhm.
words of wisdom or support would you be able to give to that person to encourage that person to get up off the couch and try one more time? I mean, literally, because this time could be the final time and they just take flight and have a totally different life. What words of wisdom could you offer that person?
It's ironic that you asked me that because just before our interview started, I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was going back and forth about whether or not she wanted to try it, and I said, just invest 10 days in yourself. Not 21, not 30, not 60, 10 days. Are you worth 10 days? Because the days are going to go by anyway. If you live to see the next 10 days, those days will have gone by anyway. Why not make an investment in your health and just say, you know what? I'm going to eat beef, bacon, butter, and eggs 1, 2, maybe 3 times a day for the next 10 days. And you don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to tell anybody what you're doing. Just take your 10 days and do what you want to do with it and try a different approach. Everything else you've tried up until now has not worked. Try something different and give it 10 days and come talk to me at the end of 10 days
Take that
because
to
you're going to be a different person at the end of those 10 days
Mhm.
if you stick to the protocol
Yeah.
and you do your beef, bacon, butter, and eggs. 10 days.
Mhm.
You're worth
Now,
the investment.
10 days
10
sounds
days.
like a lifetime to some people. Literally, it sounds like a lifetime.
Mhm.
So, what if they said I could do 5 days?
Do it.
All right, you just say do it.
Do
Okay.
it.
All right.
Mhm.
Now, hey, you have a YouTube channel as well. So can you tell people where to find you and what kind of content you're offering on your YouTube channel and any
Sure.
social medias? I'll add it in the show notes, but it would be great for you to share that.
Yes, absolutely. So I am a podcast host. I have a podcast of my own. It's called The Girl Talk Sunday Podcast. And you can find us on YouTube at The Girl Talk Sunday Podcast. It's a brand new channel. I've had my podcast for going on 4 years, but I just created a new channel just for the podcast. So my channel that I had previously is at Best Life TV for you. My name on social media is Sandi BestLife Jones, and you can find me on Instagram under Shop Best Life Merch and at Girl Talk Sunday with Sandi. On Facebook, you can find me under Sandi Best Life Jones, and I just created a brand new Facebook page called the Cocoa Carnivore. And that is me.
Oh,
I am the Cocoa Carnivore. And so I'll be ramping that up in January, sharing information. And I'm going to be vlogging my carnivore journey starting in January. And all of that will be on my Facebook page. So I'm excited about that. This is going to be very interesting
I
because
love it.
I'm probably gonna post videos every day of my journey.
I love it. And you are going to be so successful with that. And I'm so excited that another sister is in the carnivore
Yes.
world and we're literally miles away. So that's going to be awesome. So thank
Yes.
you for sharing that. And y'all, once again, this is another fabulous episode of the Carnivore Connection where we share heartfelt and soulful conversations. Until next time, just keep it real and keep eating meat. Okay, guys? All right.